Episode 343. Her fighting spirit surged once more. Tang Ru threw herself into a frenzy of inputs, 4 sweeping strikes this time. She used only basic attacks. Yet with the spear's slowest attack speed, her rhythm now felt like a gale. Tang Ru's APM had climbed to another level. But the sacrifice for this burst of speed was the precision of her microcontrols. Did those 3 consecutive strikes land precisely where the sword's tip was pointing? Even Tang Ru herself wasn't sure. She only knew her attacks were aimed in that direction, toward where the sword pointed. She had to keep moving forward. Even if she died, she'd die stepping on this guy's corpse. A basic, ordinary attack, yet it achieved an unexpectedly brilliant effect. This time, Swordpoint's graceful evasion was gone. 3 consecutive strikes had him scrambling, and he failed to dodge the final sweeping blow. It slammed into his waist, sending his character staggering sideways. All that effortless grace he'd shown earlier, dodging Soft Mist's attacks, it was gone, completely gone. Suddenly, Tang Ru understood. This was a combat technique Ye Shu had taught her. Know your skills, watch for openings, and that's exactly what Jin Feng Suoji was using. In that brief instant, Tang Ru's Soft Mist unleashed Falling Flower Palm, Sky Strike, Dragon Tooth and Circle Swing, then swiftly closed the distance to Swordpoint. At that moment, all 4 skills were on cooldown, and Brilliance Orbs could only be generated upon hitting a target. That meant Soft Mist, a level 31 battle mage, had only 1 skill left at her disposal, Double Stabbed. It was precisely because Swordpoint had judged this correctly that he could accurately predict that double stab. And after that, as Soft Mist skills came off cooldown one by one, Tang Ru unleashed them just as quickly. But Swordpoint, who had calculated it all perfectly, dodged them again and again. Ironically, Tang Ru's blistering APM was actually helping her opponent. Her speed allowed her to unleash a flurry of skills in an instant, but the cooldowns on those skills then became a predictable rhythm, giving Swordpoint exactly the data he needed to read her moves. This Swordpoint was no slouch either. Ye Shu's method, of course. Tang Ru had practiced it. But this kind of judgment call? Easy to talk about, brutally hard to master. Tang Ru was still at the stage of just keeping track of her own cooldowns. She was far from being able to factor in her opponent's skill usage and cooldowns as well. And this precise control of his blade, whether it was due to lower levels and fewer skills giving him an edge, at least at this stage, he was doing something Tang Ru simply couldn't. But this time, Tang Ru's 3 rapid basic attacks finally caught him off guard. Basic attacks have no cooldown. They can be used at any moment. That meant Swordpoint's previous method of prediction was now useless. Tang Ru's lightning-fast reflexes left him reeling, and he paid the price instantly. Staggered by the sweep, Swordpoint couldn't steady himself before a flash of crimson light was already upon him. It was a Sky Strike. Soft Mist Sky Strike had arrived once more. This time, Swordpoint saw it coming, but it was too late to dodge. He was launched into the air by the Sky Strike. Then came a Circle Swing. The Crimson Moon Spear thrust forward, skewering Swordpoint and hoisting him up before slamming him down behind her. The resulting shockwave was perfect. It bowled over the smaller monsters that had just swarmed in. But this time, Tang Ru's protection of Soft Mist wasn't quite so flawless. In that short span, he himself had taken hits from the mobs. Tang Ru finally landed a hit on Swordpoint, but the price she paid for it was devastating. Soft Mist was hit by several minions in that instant, her health plummeting by 1/3. The level suppression didn't just grant damage resistance, it also amplified the damage dealt to the weaker Keeling. In contrast, the damage dealt to Jian Feng Suoji was far less significant. This kind of attrition fight, it's a losing battle. The battle mage is indeed an anomaly among mages, boasting a strength growth of 3.5, which is on par with a blade master. However, in terms of constitution, the battle mage retains the frailty typical of the mage class. With a mere 2.5 vitality growth, it's simply not on the same level as the blade master's 3.5. Attribute growth refers to the stats the system automatically grants your character each time you level up. A strength growth of 3.5 means you gain 3.5 strength per level. Different growth rates don't just change the default attribute points you get each level, they also mean each point of a base attribute reflects differently in your other stats. For example, if a battle mage and a blade master have the same strength growth, then their physical attack, defense, and carrying capacity must also be identical when unequipped. And since their stamina growth rates differ, even with the same 100 points in stamina, a battle mage's HP and endurance will still be lower than a blade master's. And that's not even mentioning that, by default, a battle mage gets fewer base stamina points. Without equipment, their final stamina is definitely inferior to a blade master's. And when it comes to gear, the battle mage specializes in leather armor, while the blade master specializes in light armor. That's another tier down in defense. With both stamina and defense at a disadvantage, how could the battle mage hope to outlast the blade master? What's more, sword point's level was higher, and don't forget, sword point only had soft mist to deal with, while soft mist, aside from this sword point, still had to face over a dozen savage residents, and that Christmas thief who was already swaggering around. This is an incredibly tough spot, but Tang Ru felt that, compared to defeating Ye Shu, this was at least a task she could accomplish right now. Soft Mist parried the nearby mobs with a sweep of her spear and downed a health potion. In a fight of attrition, timing your potions is key. The moment your health or mana starts to drop, you need to think about taking one. Ye Shu's teachings flashed clearly through Tang Ru's mind. She knew this fight would be grueling, yet her focus only sharpened.